Above the object and below the object, the streamlines, whichever is present, it is having certain velocity and pressure. Friction means it is a resistance force which is applied to any object. Viscous force will be equal to the apparent weight at certain velocity, and that velocity is said to be a terminal velocity. Eta is defined as the tangential force acting per unit area between the layers which is having the velocity gradient. Hello everyone, I'm Rinda, Faculty of Physics from Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, welcoming you all to the Chapter 10, Session 3. Chapter name is Mechanical Properties of Fluid. So in today's class, let us discuss regarding the dynamic lift, viscosity, Reynolds number, surface tension and its energy, as well as the mechanism of the detergents. So here there is a dynamic lift. What is meant by a lift? Lift means it is nothing but an upward force which is exerted on an object so that it flies above. So that is nothing but you're giving certain lift. That is said to be a dynamic lift. So here we have got that the force which is acting on a body such as airplane wing or hydrofoil or a spinning ball by virtue of motion through fluid is said to be a dynamic lift. So that we are just giving an upliftment for any object which is present in a fluid. So here we have got a dynamic lift wherein we are considering a ball moving without a spin and ball moving with a spin. So both the balls are having motion. So when there is a certain type of motion, there is a streamlines which is present, which is divided. The streamlines are divided when there is motion of a object. So these streamlines are having certain velocity, as well as the same thing applies for the streamlines which lies above the object. So above the object and below the object, the streamlines whichever is present, it is having certain velocity and pressure. But since the ball is moving without the spin, what happens to the velocity? It remains as it is. So when there is a velocity, when there is no change in velocity present over there, then you can just clearly say that there is no pressure difference. Similarly, it is for ball moving with the spin. So here, when the ball is moving with the spin, so a ball is undergoing a spin motion. So what happens to the streamlines? It gets crowded at one side and the other side, that is the below, it remains as it is. So here you can see the crowding of the streamlines, whereas in the other end, that is the object which is spinning, below that the streamlines will be rarefied. So here the velocity increases, wherein the velocity remains the same in case of below streamlines. Okay, so when compared to that of the velocities of the streamlines which lies below, the streamlines velocity above the object will be higher. When the velocity is higher, you can say that the pressure decreases. Velocity increases means the pressure decreases, wherein here the pressure is more when compared to that of the above streamlines. So when the pressure is more, what happens to the spinning ball? The pressure is exerted above, as well as the ball obtains the upward force. So what happens to the ball? It flies high. So there is a dynamic lift. So this dynamic lift, when it is provided to an object which is spinning, then that effect is called as Magnus effect. So what is meant by a Magnus effect? This is the effect of dynamic lift. Okay, so dynamic lift. So what is this dynamic lift? When the pressure above the object decreases, the pressure below the object is more when compared to that of the pressure which lies above. What happens to the object? It is uplifted by the pressure which lies below. So because of which that lift is said to be a dynamic lift, and this dynamic lift on the object which spins, the dynamic lift of the spinning object is said to be a Magnus effect. The same thing goes, that is the ball moving with a spinning motion, the same thing is applied for a aerofoil. What is that aerofoil? It is a solid shape which is designed in such a way that there is a dynamic lift for that solid shape. For example, you can take example of an aeroplane wing. So here in aeroplane wing, what happens? It moves. So there is a movement of an airplane. So its wings, what happens to the wings? When it passes through the streamlines, its above surface, that is, its above streamlines gets crowded. So there is velocity which is increased. As a result, the pressure decreases. But from below the airplane wing, if this is an airplane wing, here there is a decrease in pressure, whereas here there is increase in pressure, which uplifts the aeroplane, that is, which uplifts the airplane, because of which it moves in a certain height. That is all about the dynamic lift. Now, having this concept, let us move to the another one, that is viscosity. So what is viscosity? I hope you all know regarding the friction. We had studied friction in case of the movement of a solid object. Friction means it is a resistance force which is applied to any object because of which we walk. So when we walk, there is an equal and opposite force which is acting against us, against our footsteps. So because of which we start walking. So that is all about the friction. The same thing is applied to this viscosity in case of fluids. So what is viscosity? Viscosity is nothing but it is the resistance of fluid motion. It is a resistance which is given to a motion of a liquid or a fluid. So there are n number of layers in a fluid. So each layer undergoes resistance with each other. Okay. So next is, it is a force which exists between two layers of liquid, as I had discussed right now. And the coefficient of viscosity is pronounced as eta. So how did this coefficient exist? Let us see. According to Newton's law of viscous force, okay, Newton has given a law for this viscous force. According to that, it is said that the force is directly proportional to the area. The force is directly proportional to the area as well as the velocity gradient. Velocity gradient is nothing but the change in its velocity when there is certain displacement. Okay, so that is all about velocity gradient. When you remove the proportionality constant, you have got F is equal to minus eta A into dV by dx. So here this eta is nothing but coefficient of viscosity, and the negative sign implies that the layers are acting against each other, because of which there is the resistance, that is viscosity. That is why it is negative. So here F is equal to minus eta A into velocity gradient. Okay, so that is all about this, that is coefficient of viscosity, which is pronounced as eta, and its symbol is this. So for fluid, it is defined as ratio of shearing stress to shearing strain. So what is the definition for eta? It is said to be eta is equal to ratio of shearing stress to shearing strain. Shearing strain. So that is all about the formula for eta, or the definition for eta. It can also be defined as, that is, if this is the equation what you're considering, it will be eta is equal to F divided by A, because this A comes down over here, and you have got your dV by dx. So it is dx by divided by dV. So that will be the definition for eta. How can you give the definition for eta now? That is, when area is 1 and the velocity gradient is 1, you can easily give the definition of eta. That is, eta is defined as the tangential force acting per unit area between the layers which is having the velocity gradient. By having this equation, that if you're considering A is equal to 1 and dV by dx is equal to 1, if you consider both are 1, so this becomes 1 and this becomes 1, so you're having Eta is equal to the force which is applied. So how can you define eta now? So eta is nothing but the tangential force which is applied on the liquid per unit area between the layers. It has got unit velocity gradient. So that is all about the definition for eta. You can use either shear stress by shear strain, that is ratio of shear stress to shear strain, or else you can give the equation as in this form and you can say that it is a tangential force acting per unit area between the layers of the liquid having unit velocity gradient. So that is all about the viscosity. Next it is the SI unit of viscosity is given by Poiseuille. So here its another units are said to be Newton second per meter square, or else it can be Pascal seconds. So the dimension of viscosity is mLT minus 1. That is, by having this equation you can get the dimensions. So having that equation, apply for force, apply for area, that is length into length, it will be L into L square. Again apply for the position dx, it will be L, and then it is dv, that is change in velocity with respect to time. You can give it as dx by dt, which will go up, and you can finally get this equation ml minus 1 t minus 1. Next is the viscosity of liquid decreases in case of liquid, and in case of gases the viscosity acts in a different way. That is, the viscosity, that is the friction, decreases when the temperature increases in case of liquid, and in case of solid when there is high temperature the viscosity also increases. That is all about your gaseous as well as liquid viscosity difference. So now let us move to Stokes' law. So what is meant by a Stokes' law? Here, in order to define the Stokes' law, we consider just a column which is filled with the castor oil. So suppose if this is a column, there is a presence of streamline in the liquid. So this is a column and it is having certain liquid. That liquid here we are considering a castor oil, and this is a metallic sphere which is allowed to move within the castor oil. What happens when there is a fall of an object from the top of a building? So when there is a fall of an object, before it reaches ground, it undergoes too many obstacles. It faces too many obstacles and then it falls. Okay. So there is a velocity changes. That is, there is an acceleration that is called as acceleration due to gravity. So here in this case, when there is a liquid and within the liquid column, you're just dropping a sphere, that is a metallic sphere. What happens to the metallic sphere within the column? It is that it just separates the streamline, it passes in this way. So when it passes in this way, what happens to its velocity inside a castor oil or inside a liquid with respect to other liquid? That is, initially we consider too many metallic spheres which we apply from the top of the column. So many other metallic spheres will give different velocities at the same time, that is at the initial time. But after moving few distance, what happens to the velocity? It becomes uniform. Okay, so here there is a sphere, it becomes uniform in such a way that apparent weight of the object will be equal to the viscous force of that liquid. Actual weight out of the castor oil is something different. So when you put this weight, that is a metallic sphere inside the column, you have got its apparent weight. So that apparent weight, as it moves inside the column, it will be equal to the viscous force. So that is a resistance force applied by the liquid. So the viscous force will be equal to the apparent weight at certain velocity, and that velocity is said to be a terminal velocity. It is like terminal, the end of its change in velocity, after which it will be uniform velocity. So that velocity, if suppose here the terminal velocity ends, after this terminal velocity, the weight of the metallic sphere, that is the apparent weight of this object, will be equal to apparent weight will be equal to the viscous force of this liquid at that position. Now we got to know why do we study the Stokes law, that is something with regard to this viscous force. So we see the viscosity of different liquids. Stokes law is used to check out the viscosity of different liquids given to you. So here when it is that the Stokes law is used in order to find out the viscous force, the equation is given by F is equal to 6 pi eta r V. So we have 6 pi eta r V as an equation of the Stokes law, which is used to identify the force. So now, once it reaches the terminal velocity, what happens to the apparent weight of the bob, that is a metallic sphere, it becomes equal to the viscous force. So we have got apparent weight given by, apparent weight is given by mg, which is subtracted from, original mass is subtracted from apparent mass, wherein the acceleration due to gravity g is same for both. So which is equal to, mass means we are considering the volume over here. So the volume of a sphere will be 4 by 3 pi r cube, that is volume of the sphere, always that is outside what is its original mass, and within the liquid what is its mass. So we are considering this volume 4 by 3 pi r cube. We have got rho and g minus 4 by 3 pi r cube. For this m dash we consider sigma and we consider g. So we have the other value. So now it is 4 by 3 pi r cube is common, wherein you have you got your rho minus sigma and g outside. So this is the apparent weight. So at terminal velocity, viscous force is equal to the apparent weight. So get your viscous force and equate it, because now you have reached the terminal velocity, which is given by Vt. So what is your terminal velocity? It is 4 by 3 pi r cube divided by this pi, 6 pi eta r comes down, and you have got your rho minus sigma as well as g. So pi cancels with pi and you have got 4, and this gets equated by 2, and this was with 9 6 3s are 18. So 2 2s are 4 and 2 9s are 18. So it is Vt is equal to 2 by 9 eta, and here it is r square into rho minus sigma and g. So this is your terminal velocity. So here you can call this terminal velocity is directly proportional to the square of the radius as well as inversely proportional to the viscosity. Eta means it is viscosity. So you can say the terminal velocity is directly proportional to the square of the radius and inversely proportional to the coefficient of viscosity. So that is all about your Stokes law. Now let us move to the surface tension. So what is the surface tension? Suppose you consider a stagnant water, you can see a mosquitoes over there which has laid eggs. Okay, you're not supposed to retain the stagnant water as it is, because it upsets the health. Why? Because the mosquitoes are very dangerous for each and every beings. So here there is a stagnant water which is present over there, and you see the mosquitoes laying eggs. Those eggs doesn't sink. Why is that? Because of this surface tension. Similarly, you can see insects which is crawling above the surface of the water. Once again, it is due to the surface tension. That is, the water itself, it is considering itself as its own property, because water will not accept anything all of a sudden. That is, there is a water which is spread. You can see this dent, a small dent. This is the elastic behavior of the water. There is a superficial layer above the surface of the water, and when the insects or any other things comes and sits upon it, what happens? Here there is a dent which is given. That is, if this is a beaker which consists of water, there is a dent given like this, because it doesn't break. The water doesn't break over here, but it stretches. So this elastic behavior or the nature of fluids is known as the surface tension. That is, it's creating certain tension above the surface of the water. So that is all about your surface tension. So another thing that is you have got your Reynolds number. So what is this Reynolds number? Reynolds number is usually mentioned by NR, that is Reynolds number, which is equal to the velocity rho and d divided by it is eta. So this is the formula in order to find out the Reynolds number. So here we check out the velocity of the fluid which is passing through a pipe or a tube of certain diameter. By having that, we will get to know what sort of a flow is it, whether the fluid is having streamline flow or else the fluid is having turbulent flow. That is decided by these conditions. When Reynolds number is said to be less than 1000, then you can say the fluid undergoes a streamline flow, and when the Reynolds number is greater than 2000, you can call it as turbulent flow. So there is a streamline flow as well as the turbulent flow. So between this 1000 and 2000, what do you have? The flow is said to be unsteady flow. So that is all about your Reynolds number. Now let us move to angle of contact. So what is this angle of contact? There and then itself in the heading you can see angle, that means it makes an angle theta, and of contact, angle of contact means there is a contact between something and something. So that something and something will be filled by a solid as well as liquid. There is a contact between a solid surface as well as the liquid droplets. So when there is a contact of the solid surface and a liquid droplets, we just draw an angle to it. This gives you the angle of contact and tells you the behavior of a liquid. That is, it is used in order to find out the density by having this angle of contact. So here the angle between the tangent to the liquid surface at a point of contact, that is at a point of contact and the solid surface, there is a tangent which is drawn to a liquid surface which is in contact with a solid. Okay, so that angle is termed as angle of contact, which is given by theta. That is, suppose if you have a liquid and this is a solid surface, and here is the presence of liquid. What happens when you draw the tangent? Tangent means the portion touches the surface, that is a point in a straight line touches the surface of a other line, that is it touches the curve. So what happens? Just if you draw, this is a point of contact, from here you just draw a tangent. So you have got this angle as theta. When this is the theta, this is in the form of acute angle. This gives you the acute angle. So you can say its density. Let us then name it as whether it increases or decreases. Increases in the sense density is very high or low, you can just see here. Okay. Next is, if you consider another bubble in this manner, so this is water droplet, but this will be a mercury or a oil or a glycerine droplet. So when this is a case, when you draw a tangent from the point of contact, you have got theta like this. So it makes an obtuse angle. So this obtuse angle gives the density dash. So you know that water is less denser than that of the mercury. So when this is a case, you can conclude that whenever you get the acute angle of contact, you can say the density is less, and whenever you get the obtuse angle of contact, you can say that the density is more in this case. This is how you identify the angle of contact, and having this angle of contact, you identify the density of the liquids. So now let us move to the capillary rise. So what is this capillary rise? So it is just a tube, capillary tube. We can see this capillary rise in a capillary tube. So what is meant by a capilla? Capilla means it is meant by a hair. It is nothing but hair in case of Latin. So if the tube were hair thin, if the tube has got this hair thin, what would happen? When you dip into any solution or any water, the rise would be high. That is, this rise would be very high in case of a capillary tube. So here we have considered two types of demonstrations, that is one with water, another one with mercury. So here this beaker is filled with water and the other beaker is filled with the mercury, wherein the capillary tubes are dipped inside the water as well as mercury. So when the density is less, what happens? There is a dent which is given like this. So you all have read about the concave as well as convex lens. So you have got your concave kind of a shape over here and convex kind of a shape over here, wherein here there is increase in there is a capillary rise in case of water, whereas here there is a decrease in a tube because of its density. So water rises up in a narrow tube in spite of gravity in case of the capillary rise. There is a reaction which is pulled upwards, which is given by R, wherein to compensate this pressure, there is a pressure which is exerted within, that is inside. That is why we obtain this kind. So there is a reaction which is acting downwards to compensate, there is a pressure which is given upwards. So that is all about your capillary rise. Now let us move to the detergents. So what is meant by detergents? Detergents is used, usually you see detergents, we use it to wash clothes. So if you're considering a grease, you can consider a oil, okay? So you know the difference between water as well as oil because two different liquids are having two different densities. So whenever there is a oil stain and you just flush the water upon the oil stain, what happens to the oil? Does it clear? No, it will never clear because its density is different, so it floats and it moves away. So the oil stain, whatever is present on the clothes, is left behind as it is. So in order to remove, what do we use in our daily life? We just use soaps or detergents. Okay, so whenever you use the soaps or detergents, what happens? How the detergents act? That is given by this image. That is, the detergents are having a needle-like structure. So here you can see a detergent which is having a needle-like particles. Okay, its behavior will be a needle-like kind. So whenever these detergents, whatever you can see with this yellow and red needle kind, so this green particle is nothing but the stain, that is a grease stain, or it can also be called as grease or a dirt. So those detergent particles, it covers up the grease or the stains which is present upon the clothes. So later onwards, what happens? These needle-like particles of a detergent, it covers the stains completely and then it takes away along with it. So there is a taking away of this dirt along with this needle kind of structures which is given by the detergents. That is how your clothes get cleaned by the stain. Okay, so here washing with water does not remove any grease stains, as I told you. So this is because water doesn't wet the greasy dirt because of its density. So that is there is very little area of contact between them. So there is no much contact between them. It's a very little contact between them, because of which the water can't wash the stains away. That is why we use this detergents, and you saw the action of detergents in short. So in today's class, we had studied regarding the dynamic lift as well as the viscosity, Reynolds number, surface tension, and capillary rise, as well as about the detergents, that is action of detergents, because the water doesn't react well with the oil. That is why we use detergents to water and we make a solution and then we apply it for the stained clothes. So that is all about this concept under mechanical properties of fluids. So here ends our topic. Let us all meet on the next class with a new session. Until then, have a good day. Thank you.